Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio. And Monday Night Raw tonight, as always, this show was awful, absolutely terrible, very boring as well. What do we get on the show tonight? We had Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens versus the Alpha Academy. We had a 6-women's tag team match. Bianca, Belair, Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch, Nikki, A.S.H, and Doudrop. Nothing special happened in this match. It's just all these women are in their feuds. You know, Bianca Belair feuding with Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan still feuding with Doudrop, and Rhea Ripley still feuding with Nikki. Nothing different or special happened in this match. Same shit. We had Tommaso Ciampa versus Roode. We had Rhea and Dominik versus The Hurt Business, Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexandra. We had the Street Profits versus RKBro. And next week on Monday Night Raw, it's the Triple Threat match where it's RKBro versus the Alpha Academy versus the Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team titles. So that's taking place next week on Monday Night Raw. And we had a United States Championship match. Damian Priest defended the United States Championship against Finn Balor. And also, we had who is going to be Edge's opponent at WrestleMania, which we all know already. We all knew who it was going to be. So, and it brought out Edge tonight like we haven't seen in a while in that segment. So, but Monday Night Raw, terrible show as always, awful, and very boring. But before I get into the review, if you guys haven't checked out my previous video that I uploaded earlier today, I did a movie review of Hancock, which stars Will Smith and Jason Bateman, Charlize Theron. If you guys haven't checked out my review of that, definitely go check it out. Really enjoyed that film. Very underrated Will Smith film. So check out my review of that if you guys haven't seen it. But let's get right into the review. Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens ended up coming out for the KO show. Kevin Owens came out. He was wearing a white cowboy hat. He was mocking Texas. And with the cowboy hat on, he looked like Stinky Pete the Prospector from Toy Story 2. I swear, that's what he looked like when he came out, wearing that cowboy hat. So Kevin Owens ended up stopping at the entranceway, and he introduced his partner, Seth Rollins. So Seth Rollins ended up coming out. Both Rollins and Owens ended up heading to the ring. Kevin Owens ended up saying that they have a big night in store. And he was talking about how him and Rollins are two of the biggest names in the company and they have been screwed on this road to WrestleMania. Rollins then ended up saying that the WrestleMania gods have given them one more chance, and now they will win the Raw Tag Team titles and take the titles into WrestleMania. So Owens ended up taking shots at Texas. So Rollins was like, oh yeah, we understand you don't like Texas. So he ended up taking off the cowboy hat. Kevin Owens ended up taking off the cowboy hat, stomped on it. And then Rollins ended up introducing the guests, who were the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis. So Chad Gable and Otis ended up coming out. Otis and Gable made their way into the ring. They ended up sitting down. And we had Chad Gable. He was going, oh, thank you. Yeah, that's what Chad Gable was doing here. He was like, oh, well, glad to come on the show. Oh, thank you. So Chad Gable ended up taking that as a compliment. He ended up saying that it's a nice show, but all he sees is a couple asses making assumptions. So Chad Gable then ended up berating the Columbus crowd for booing him. He ends up complaining about his team's winning percentage going down now that it's a three-way. And Kevin Owens ended up saying, oh, it's just business. Chad Gable ended up calling them pathetic. He ended up calling Rollins and Owens pathetic. He ended up saying that they've already had their shot at WrestleMania and that he's never even been on the show. Seth ended up saying that winning the tag team titles and giving the Alpha Academy a WrestleMania rematch would make it a win-win. So the team started bickering. You had Chad Gable and Owens going, a shush, a shush, shush, shush. And Chad Gable going, a shush. So then Owens and Gable end up getting each other's face, doing the whole, a shush, a shush, a shush, a shush. And then Owens end up laying Chad Gable out with a stunner. And that was how the segment ended. This was fucking awful. This segment was awful. It was cringe with Chad Gable saying a weird thank you, going, oh, thank you, to the whole, a shush. And then Owens and Gable going, a shush, a shush, a shush, a shush, like fucking 5-year-olds. Be like, now, children, don't start fighting. Awful. Absolutely awful. Cringe-inducing. And then we had the first match of the night. It was Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens versus the Alpha Academy. And this was an okay match. It wasn't bad. We had Owens end up taking Kevin Owens into the corner when the match started. And Owens started working Kevin Owens over. Owens fought out of the corner, and him and Owens were trading some strikes. Owens then ended up leveling Kevin Owens with a back elbow. Otis scooped Kevin Owens up. He ended up slamming Owens in the middle of the ring. Owens ended up hitting a few sentons to keep Otis down. Rollins ended up tagging in. Rollins started alone with some punches and strikes. Ended up sending Otis into the corner. Otis ended up dumping Rollins to the apron. And the referee was distracted. And Gable ended up interfering with Rollins on the floor. Otis ended up taking advantage. He ended up knocking Rollins out to the floor again. Otis ended up following, and he started beating Rollins around. He ended up driving Rollins into the edge of the apron. Otis then brought Rollins back to the ring, and he ended up sending Rollins into the turnbuckles. We had Otis end up taking in Chad Gable. Otis ended up dropping Rollins, and Gable ended up going for the cover. Rollins kicked out at 2. So Gable ended up going to work on Rollins' arm. Gable then delivered a snap suplex to Rollins, and he ended up going for the cover. Rollins kicked out at 2. So we had Rollins end up fighting up because Otis ended up coming back into the ring. Otis ended up splashing him into the corner. Otis ended up going up to the second rope, and he was going for the Vader Bomb. And as he hit the Vader Bomb, Rollins ended up moving out of the way. So Kevin Owens ended up tagging in. He knocked Chad Gable off the apron. Otis was in the corner, and Owens ended up doing the suck it like DX, and he ended up hitting the corner cannonball to Otis. Kevin Owens ended up tossing Chad Gable back to the floor. He leapt off the apron, taking down Chad Gable with a cannonball. Kevin Owens ended up returning to the ring. He ended up hitting a frog splash from the apron to Chad Gable on the floor. Kevin Owens ended up getting back up, and Owens just clobbered him at ringside. As Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Gable was working on Kevin Owens' leg. Gable delivered a German suplex to Owens. Owens came back. He nailed an enziguri, and both Gable and Owens were down. Rollins ended up tagging in. He started unloading on Chad Gable. Rollins delivered a sling blade. Rollins then ended up going over. He ended up knocking Owens off the apron with the elbow. Rollins then ended up sending Gable into the turnbuckle. He then hit the top rope flying knee, and then he went right into the Falcon Arrow, and he ended up going for the cover. Gable ended up kicking out. So Owens ended up saving Rollins with a super kick, and then a neck breaker, and he ended up going for the cover. Otis ended up making the save, breaking up the pin. So at the end of the match, we had Rollins end up hitting a buckle bomb on Chad Gable. Kevin Owens ended up following it up with a stunner. Rollins ended up following Owens in the stunner with the stomp to Chad Gable. And he went for the cover. And there you go. Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens ended up winning the match. Overall, match was okay. It wasn't bad. It was a okay TV match. And then we had a video package of how Omos has been dominating on Monday Night Raw. Omos is absolutely terrible. He's the Great Khali 2.0. And then Omos was backstage. Kevin Patrick ended up approaching him. Omos ended up yelling at Kevin Patrick, saying, "That's enough." Omos ended up talking about everyone that he's dominated since WrestleMania last year. He ended up saying tonight he goes up against the largest man he's faced in the ring, and that is T-Bar. And Omos ended up saying that he will dominate T-Bar as well. So Omos ended up walking off to the ring. So he ended up coming out, and Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then as Monday Night Raw came back from commercial, T-Bar ended up making his way out. And this was a squash match. Omos ended up staring T-Bar down. T-Bar got on the apron. Omos ended up running and knocked T-Bar off the apron with a shoulder. T-Bar landed on the floor on his back. Omos then ended up coming out of the ring. He brought T-Bar in the ring, dragged his body to the middle of the ring. And Omos ended up going for a pin, but he ended up tossing T-Bar into the corner. So Omos ended up charging for a corner splash as the bell ended up ringing. So Omos charged for a corner splash. T-Bar ended up moving. Omos ended up coming back with a clothesline. He leveled T-Bar with that. Omos then ended up lifting T-Bar in the middle of the ring, tossed him with the choke bomb, and Omos went for the cover. Omos ended up winning. Squash match. T-Bar got buried here. Omos is fucking terrible. Great Khali 2.0 is what Omos is. And then we had Nikki, A.S.H, and Doudrop backstage. Nikki ended up saying that she is the only superhero that Raw needs. And Doudrop ended up saying that she could be the superhero because she's just fine tonight with being in the ring for the 6-woman tag team match. So Becky Lynch then came over. Becky Lynch ended up commenting on she and Doudrop putting aside their differences. So Becky ended up taunting Bianca Belair, and Becky Lynch, Nikki, and Doudrop ended up walking out. And then we had the 6-woman tag team match. Becky Lynch, Doudrop, and Nikki A.S.H versus Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley. This was a nothing match. Same shit. Becky Lynch feuding with Bianca, Doudrop feuding with Liv Morgan, Nikki still feuding with Rhea Ripley. It was just these women, instead of having one-on-one matches, they were all put into a 6-woman tag team match. So Rhea Ripley was in back. She was talking strategy with Liv Morgan. Bianca Belair then ended up walking out. She ended up asking to have Becky if she tags in. So Bianca ended up saying that she has a long overdue KOD for the Raw Women's Champion. So Bianca Belair ended up saying that she wants to give Becky Lynch a preview of when she beats her at WrestleMania. So Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, and Bianca Belair end up heading to the ring. Before the commercial break, Becky, Doudrop, and Nikki end up making their way out. So then the bell ended up ringing. Becky Lynch ended up starting off with Bianca Belair. Becky ended up changing her mind. She ducked Bianca and tagged in Nikki, which the crowd ended up booing. So Nikki wanted Liv Morgan to start, so she ended up tagging back in. So we had Nikki and Liv going at it. They ended up locking up. Liv nailed a hurricanrana, ended up sending Nikki into the corner. Doudrop ended up tagging in. Doudrop ended up powering over Liv Morgan. Liv ended up ducking a shot from Doudrop. Liv ended up kicking Doudrop in the head. Bianca Belair ended up tagging in. And Doudrop was stunned from the kick that Liv Morgan delivered to her. So Bianca Belair ended up struggling with Doudrop. So she ended up tagging in Rhea Ripley. So Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, they delivered a double suplex to Doudrop. So Doudrop ended up out on the floor. Bianca Belair ended up doing a kip up. Nikki and Becky ended up running in. And we had them sending Bianca and Rhea Ripley out to the floor. Liv Morgan ended up going up to the top. And she ended up taking down Becky Lynch, Nikki, and Doudrop on the outside. So as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Bianca Belair was going at it with Becky Lynch. And Becky Lynch ended up delivering a kick to Bianca's chin. Becky Lynch was using Bianca's braid to drive her into the ring post. And there were a couple of points here in the match where just Becky Lynch was just using Bianca's hair braid to do stuff to Bianca. So Becky Lynch ended up dropping Bianca on the apron with a kick. Becky Lynch ended up wrapping Bianca's hair around the top rope, started working her over. So Becky Lynch ended up kicking Bianca, ended up nailing the second rope flying leg drop because she was draped over the middle rope. So she ended up going for the cover. Bianca ended up kicking out too. So Becky Lynch was stomping away in the corner to Bianca. Doudrop ended up coming in. Doudrop ended up taking Bianca from corner to corner, ended up slamming her in the middle of the ring. Doudrop went and dropped an elbow to Bianca. So then we had the Mysterios, Rey and Dominik. They ended up coming out. Rey got on the mic. He ended up saying that at WrestleMania, The Miz is done with all his BS. Dominik then got on the mic. He ended up saying, tonight they're not focused on some Hollywood mega dumbass and his fanboy. They're focused on this match against the Hurt Business. So then out came The Miz. The Miz got on the mic. He ended up reminding us of some of his accomplishments. And he ended up going on praising Logan Paul. So Miz ended up saying that with his help, Logan Paul will become the second most famous WWE superstar of all time. Really? What a joke. What a fucking joke. Logan Paul will become the second most famous WWE superstar of all time. Get the fuck out of here. So The Miz ended up bringing up his attack last week with him and Logan Paul attacking Rey and Dominik. He ended up saying that fans were cheering the Skull Crushing finale on both Rey and Dominik. So The Miz ended up saying that he's finally getting respect he deserves. And who would have thought it came with Logan Paul? So the fans were chanting to The Miz, "You suck." And of course, The Miz going, "Do you know what this means? When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut." Typical Miz. So we had The Miz end up ranting on the mic, and we had the Hurt Business. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander ended up coming out. So we got the match, Rey and Dominik versus Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, the Hurt Business. And this was a okay matchup here. We had Rey going at it with Shelton Benjamin. Rey ended up fighting Shelton Benjamin off, ended up nailing her Hurricanrana. Cedric ended up tagging in. Cedric came in, he ended up slamming Rey on the apron. Cedric ended up working Rey over, he was grounding him. Rey ended up fighting back up. Cedric ended up slamming him down by his head into the mat. Shelton Benjamin came back in, and Shelton Benjamin ended up slamming Rey, ended up standing over him with some right hands. Cedric ended up delivering another quick tag to take Rey into the corner. Rey fought out. Cedric ended up taking him down. He ended up sending Cedric into the corner with a Hurricanrana. It also knocked Shelton Benjamin off the apron. So Dominik and Shelton Benjamin ended up coming in. Dominik ended up delivering a top rope crossbody and a Hurricanrana to Benjamin. Dominik then ended up dropping Benjamin over the top rope, and he kept control of the match until Shelton Benjamin ended up slamming Dominik for a 2 count. And there was a point where Dominik ended up looking to finish Shelton Benjamin off, and The Miz ended up interfering. Miz ended up running away through the crowd while Rey ended up chasing him away. Shelton Benjamin ended up taking advantage of the distraction because Dominik was looking at what was going on between his father and The Miz. And then just Shelton ended up rolling up Dominik. And there you go. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, the Hurt Business, ended up winning the match. Post-match, you had Rey and Dominik. They were in the ring, and they were looking at The Miz, who was, in the stands. And that was that. But Dominik just took the pin right there. He's just looking at what's going on like... And then Shelton Benjamin just pinned him. Overall, this was an okay match. And then we had RKBro. Matt Riddle and Randy Orton were in Gorilla, and Riddle started listing some symptoms, and it sounded like, oh, he's high. We all know what Matt Riddle does. And Randy Orton ended up saying he's fine. So they ended up making their way out. And so Monday Night Raw went to commercial. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had Carmella and Queen Zelina Vega backstage. They are the women's tag team champions. And Carmella ended up saying that they accept the challenge between Naomi and Sasha Banks. Because on SmackDown, Naomi ended up saying that her and Sasha are the next women's tag team champions. So Carmella ended up saying that they accept. And after she and Zelina Vega win at WrestleMania, she's bringing out her fiance, Corey Graves, to put on a real show. Because if we think all they do is talk about sex, wait until we see how they celebrate. And today, Corey Graves and Carmella's show that's on the WWE YouTube page was released. They put out 2 episodes. I enjoyed it for what it was. And you have Queen Zelina Vega talking in her awful accent, saying, "Oh, I saw that your YouTube show was released today, and I liked it." That's all that Zelina says in her accent, which that accent is fucking terrible. I'm Queen Zelina Vega. I'm one half of the women's tag team champions. Awful. Awful accent. So then we had RKBro. They were waiting in the ring for the Street Profits to make their way out. So the Profits then made their way out. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. And this match was okay, in my opinion. Matt Riddle started off with Dawkins. They ended up blocking up. Dawkins ended up running the ropes. He ended up hitting the flying back elbow to Riddle. Ford ended up coming in. Ford ended up nailing a drop kick to Riddle. Riddle got back up. He ended up grabbing Montez Ford in a triangle out of nowhere. Ford ended up breaking it up. Riddle delivered a gut wrench slam to Ford. Orton then ended up coming in. He started unloading on Ford. Riddle then came back in again. He ended up delivering a floating bro. And Ford ended up getting his knees up. So Dawkins ended up tagging back in. He went to work on Riddle. Dawkins started unloading in the corner to Riddle. Riddle fought out of the corner, and he delivered a clothesline to Dawkins, which sent Dawkins out to the floor. Riddle ended up flying out with a corkscrew. He ended up taking Dawkins down on the outside. So Ford ended up knocking Orton off the apron. So Ford ended up taking Riddle down at ringside. As Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Riddle was fighting Dawkins off. Dawkins ended up dropping Riddle to stop, him from taking an Orton. So Riddle ended up dropping Dawkins with a kick. Orton and Ford end up tagging in. Orton started unloading with some clotheslines to Ford, and he delivered a power slam in the middle of the ring. Orton then delivered the second rope draping DDT to Ford. So Dawkins ended up running in. Riddle ended up beating him, and they tumbled over the top rope out to the floor. So at the end of the match, we had Orton end up calling for the RKO to Montez Ford. Ford blocked the RKO and nailed a drop kick to Orton. Ford ended up going up to the top. He delivered a frog splash to Orton, and Orton couldn't hold it for the pin. So Orton ended up going to put his foot on the ropes, and Dawkins ended up moving Orton's foot off. So Ford ended up getting the pin. So the Profits end up winning. But Dawkins ended up doing that on purpose and, moving Orton's foot off the rope. So, but that was that. Overall, this was an okay match. So now they're facing each other next week, along with Alpha Academy, RK-Bro and the Profits, and the Alpha Academy for the Raw Tag Team titles next week on Monday Night Raw Triple Threat match. And then we saw Kevin Patrick. Kevin Patrick was backstage with Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. Rollins ended up telling Kevin Patrick about how him and Owens have all the momentum, and they will be taking the Raw Tag Team titles to WrestleMania. Owens ended up saying that the best part will be leaving that hellhole of Texas with their titles. So Owens ended up walking off, and Rollins ended up following Owens, laughing, and that was that. And then we had Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. United States Championship is on the line. And Finn Balor ended up coming out. Monday Night Raw went to commercial. And as Monday Night Raw came back from commercial, we got another coming soon vignette for Veer Mahaan. Veer Mahaan is not coming to Monday Night Raw. So we're still getting these coming soon vignettes. Veer Mahaan is probably going to be the next in line to be released when the next line of budget cuts come. So then we saw Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, the video package from their contract signing on SmackDown on Friday. So we saw that, and then we went back to the ring. Damian Priest ended up making his way out, And then Monday Night Raw went back to commercial. I'm like, why did you air a Veer Mahan vignette and then went right into a video package with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns' contract signing, which happened on SmackDown on Friday, only for Damian Priest to come out and then go to commercial? I don't know why they did that. We should have just had the match there. But did the match start after the commercial? No. Because then we went to Austin Theory and Vince McMahon. So Theory ended up hyping Vince's appearance on the Pat McAfee show on Thursday. Austin Theory ended up asking what happens if Pat McAfee says something that pisses Vince off or tries to jump him. Austin Theory ended up saying that he could be right there. Vince ended up asking if Theory would pull McAfee off of him, which Austin Theory ended up saying that he would. So Vince ended up saying that's not that kind of show. So Austin Theory ended up saying that, but it could be that kind of show. So Theory was like, oh yeah, you haven't, he said to Vince, oh, you haven't been given an interview in 20 years. I mean, the last interview that Vince had was on Stone Cold Steve Austin's show, his Broken Skull Sessions on the WWE Network. So that was the last time Vince gave an interview. So, and then we went to the ring. We had Finn Balor versus Damian Priest, United States Championship match. The match finally started. So both Priest and Balor end up sizing each other up. This was a good match. This was, an enjoyable match here. Priest ended up dropping Balor with a shoulder first, and Balor ended up decking him. Priest ended up snapping. Of course, Hulk smash, with Damian Priest. So Priest ended up delivering a knee, leveled Balor off the ropes. Priest ended up taking Balor into the corner, but Balor ended up fighting out of it. He started working on Priest's arm. So Balor ended up grounding Priest by his arm. Priest ended up powering back up, started working Balor over in the corner. Priest then delivered a stage dive into the corner. Priest then blocked the takedown, ended up clubbing Balor with a forearm. And at the end of the match, we had Priest scooping up Balor to hit the Reckoning. Balor countered it and turned it into a takedown with an elbow. Balor delivered another corner drop kick. He then went up to the top and hit the coup de grace, and he went for the cover. And there you go. Balor ended up winning the match, and Balor is the new United States champion. Post-match, Priest was staring Balor down. Priest ended up getting on the mic, and he ended up saying, let's face it, the people carried Balor to win the title. Damian Priest ended up saying that he never heard the admiration and respect from the fans during his entire reign, even though he was successful and a fighting champion in spite of them. And yes, I agree, Damian Priest had a successful run as a United States champion. So Damian Priest ended up saying that he's going to win the title back, and all that love, admiration, and motivation from the crowd won't mean a damn thing. So Balor ended up stepping up to Damian Priest. So Priest ended up turning. He ended up dropping Balor with a cheap shot. So Priest ended up turning heel here. He turned into Hulk smash. So Priest ended up tossing Balor out of the ring. Priest ended up launching Balor onto the commentary table. He delivered the Razor's Edge. Balor then ended up landing hard on the floor. And pretty much that was basically that. Officials ended up tending to Balor as Priest ended up walking away. So there you go. Damian Priest will get his rematch for the United States Championship. And he turned heel here. But Damian Priest had a successful run as the United States champion. And then we had Edge. Edge ended up coming out to address his WrestleMania future and who he's going to face at WrestleMania. So he ended up saying that he's ended up saying that tonight his WrestleMania road becomes clearer. Edge ended up asking everyone, if they're ready to find out who will step up to him at WrestleMania. So then out came AJ Styles, which obviously we all knew it was going to be Styles from when Edge ended up saying that he said the word phenomenal. So right there in the promo that he said last week, you already knew it was going to be AJ Styles. So Styles ended up coming out, and he has accepted Edge's challenge at WrestleMania. Edge ended up saying that he's glad that Styles ends up accepting because it's clear that they both have wanted this match. Edge ended up saying that he wants the Bulldog version of Styles, not the tag team bitch we've seen for the last year. So Styles wasn't happy with what Edge had to say about that. Edge ended up taking advantage. He ended up dropping Styles. They ended up brawling. Styles ended up coming back. He ended up laying Edge out with a kick. So Styles was on the apron. He was trying to deliver the phenomenal forearm. Edge ended up ducking. Edge ended up coming right back, and he ended up low blowing Styles. So Styles ended up going down. Edge stared down at Styles, ended up mounting with some right hands. So Edge had this dazed look in his eyes. He was walking slowly around the ring. Edge ended up getting out of the ring, and he went to the timekeeper's area. Edge ended up grabbing 2 chairs. He brought them into the ring. Styles was still laid out. Edge ended up placing one of the chairs under Styles' head, and he stopped. He was thinking it over, and he backed off. He was pacing around for a few. It looked like he was about to cry. Edge looked like he was about to cry here at this point. So Edge ended up delivering a concerto to Styles. And so then he got boos from the crowd. And he delivered one more concerto shot to Styles. And Styles was just laid out. And that was how Monday Night Raw went off the air. Overall, this was a good segment. Even though we all knew that Styles was going to be Edge's opponent at WrestleMania. Edge is going to be the heel going into this match at WrestleMania against Styles. And Styles is going to be the babyface. It just proved it right here where you saw Edge, becoming the heel, just attacking Styles, and delivering the 2 concertos to Styles, just laying him out. So this is the Edge that we haven't seen in a while. Him being a heel. But this was a good segment. Overall, Monday Night Raw, terrible as always, awful, and it was boring. But anyways, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Be sure to check out my movie review of Hancock if you guys haven't seen it. And I will see you all Wednesday night for AEW Dynamite.